Well, I'm here today with Mom and Dad. It's always an honor to pull them aside. It took us about 3 days to get in here and get this interview together. They've been so busy and so high demand. Today, we're going to talk about the unique roles that a mother has and a father has and where they overlap. And a question that I had, I'm going to ask later, and I'm very curious to find out what they say, is what parts of the roles are interchangeable and what parts are just nature, how God intended it, and you can't really imitate. At the very end, you need to stick around because there's something we're going to announce, and it involves one of my siblings. And I won't give any clues, but if you want to guess in the comments and see if you're right. But it's about one of the siblings, a special announcement that we're very, very happy about. I remember almost at the very beginning. I was, of course, I'm the oldest in our family of 13 sons and one daughter. And I remember everything but the first 2 or 3 years, I guess, of your marriage. So I was curious, when things started and when I was born, did you feel like it was pretty natural, like you instinctively knew what roles were for each of you and you kind of fell into your positions, kind of like on a baseball diamond? Or was there some kind of groping around at all? Or I guess I'll let you answer first, Mom.
Well, it was also new to us, of course. We'd never been in charge of a baby and fallen so much in love like you do with your kids. We had to kind of learn on the job like everybody does. I think we both are kind of traditional, and so we kind of assumed I'd be home with the kids and that he'd be earning the money, and he'd mow the grass and I'd be doing the inside work. But yeah, we did a lot of learning on the job. We had to. No one comes into having their first child already tremendously experienced. I babysat a lot. I had younger siblings. But it's not the same when it's your child and you're making the actual decisions and you're supposed to recognize what the baby needs, But I think along with that tremendous love God gives you, he also gives you graces and wisdom too.
That's a beautiful answer. Yeah.
What about you, Dad? Was that along the lines of what you'd say?
Yeah,
or?
I thought it was really well done. And also, I saw this in you and in Mom earlier before we were married. Her love for people. I think having that maternal instinct that God gives all mothers, and even in nature, you can see it with mothers and fathers. But then on top of it, with you following, loving God and loving Jesus and just letting the Spirit lead you, it just enhanced. It's like a stained glass window is pretty, even at dark. But when light comes through, And so I'd say that just watching you take so naturally to it, like a duck to water, made me feel, wow.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way. I thought, intuitively, oh, we have a boy. Okay, that's how soon until they can throw a ball?
Yeah.
So.
And I think especially when I was born, which wasn't that long ago, but it was kind of assumed, I think, well, of course, like the father does, like on Leave It to, we watch Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, of course, like Ward is going to do that and June is going to do that.
Right.
And it's very natural, and God made the differences. Like two dads isn't the same as two moms. Or obviously there are all sorts of situations that can't be helped that aren't perfect, but it's really ideal when you can kind of merge those together.
Well, we all need a balance, and it helps just a different perspective that two people have.
Yeah.
I've never was a little boy before. You had been a little boy. You'd played with lots of boys and young men. Yeah. And so you just took to being a daddy of boys, just, went crazy with them. You were always being so physical with them. Yeah. And, teaching them all the main sports, wanting them to just be able to hold their own, Yeah. And, but I grew up in a family of a lot of sisters, and we did a lot of tomboyish things, but I still always felt just so much attraction to little kids and liking the way they think and the way they, just how honest they are. And so I looked forward to that, and it was a real pleasure when you guys came around.
I have noticed that about you with kids, is that you have like a radar that you're just like tuned into children or especially babies anywhere we go. Yeah. Like there have been times when we're just walking down the street, maybe out in the country, and maybe 500 feet away, there's like a slight sound from a kid on a tricycle or something. Yeah. And you'll be really tuned in, almost like Superman, like tuned into rescuing somebody. And I always thought that was really neat, and just shows kind of the differences, because Dad or I might be kind of tuned into something else, like we hear the sound of that engine, or we might see more like the overview and see like a blimp view of things.
What I think you need both, and I think that's whenever we'd find out we were pregnant again, I'd be thinking, oh, I've got to get the bassinet ready, and I'll have to go get all the clothing, the baby clothing set up, and do all this. And your first reaction was, oh, I've got to earn more money. And it almost bothered me, like, shoot, what's that got to do with it, And yet I wanted the money to be there so that I could stay at home, so I could be with the kids. But that would be your first reaction. Mine was more how to get ready for the baby, get the house nice enough, and get the baby bed ready and all.
I'd say that.
It's just your different roles.
It's an overlap. It's almost like the glasses that have, near, help you with near sight and far sight. There's a lot of overlap between, your view of things and mine. And that's beautiful because it gives it security to everybody. Because how would you connect if I were to be in Maine and you were in California? But there's an overlap. And but I also found, what I've noticed all these years is that I tend to be worried about, kind of concerned about the long range vision, like building a business while still how can I build a business, and we want to keep welcoming children, but also be at home with them. And also, how can I develop integrity in them without having everything be so scriptural and so this is right and this is wrong. Remember, we're living for eternity here. So God gave us all sorts of ideas to have fun, playing ball, going out to parks to play ball because our yard wasn't huge, going out to all-you-can-eat pizza places, going on outings, just telling stories at night, just having all laughter. I felt like if I could earn a few of the serious time, and it worked because I think not you guys when it would come time to talk about these deeper things and pray, and we have to forgive. You guys digested it because, and now you're all kind of long range thinkers.
And I was thinking to myself, I don't know the answer to this question, but what do you think are some of the more difficult things about each role? Like I guess I'll start with you, Mom, but anything that you can think of, their unique challenges for being a mother, or you in particular that you experienced?
Well, you have to learn your discipline style. I know, at first, of course, little newborns, you don't discipline them. They're the boss, and that's that. And you have to, you're constantly adjusting. You're adjusting to how to do with having your sleep interrupted all the time, and how to recognize sickness, and how to this and that. And then you get into, they're going to be a year and a half, 2 years old, 2.5, and they need some discipline. They have to learn about that mean word called no. And they usually don't like it very much. And I just learned, for one, I learned a lot by watching other parents and seeing how embarrassed mothers especially would get if their child was having a temper tantrum, as if the mother was having the temper tantrum. It's like, no, the child's having the temper tantrum.
Right.
I'm not misbehaving, they're misbehaving. And that you don't need to be embarrassed unless you don't do anything about it.
Right.
Because everyone's going to be thinking, hey, I wonder why their mom's not doing anything.
Right.
Where's the mom? And, I know, it helped me to realize I'm going to be the one who'll get blamed, because that's what I would do if I saw some child misbehaving, the mom's just not doing her job. And so it helped me a lot to not be embarrassed. It's like, no, I'm not misbehaving. They're misbehaving. And they're a 2-year-old, and most people have seen a 2-year-old before, and a 2.5-year-old, a 3-year-old. And they're not shocked. It's just how you react. And it helped me a lot to just watch some of my siblings and cousins and different people a little ahead of me in the game to see how they were handling it, which things worked and which ones didn't. And I found it really helped for me to, first off, just underreact, and to be careful not to say I'm going to do something unless I'm actually going to do it. And of course, I made the same mistake everybody does, is, boy, if you ever do that again, you're not going to eat another meal, or something real exaggerated. You're not going to do it. And then the child doesn't believe you, and then nothing works. It's got to be something you'll actually live with, and you actually will enforce, and not to do it when you're angry. And also not to get so angry. Just realize they're dopey little people who've never been invented before. They don't know anything. They're supposed to be stupid, and you're supposed to train them, and that's all good and normal, know. But it's very much learning on the job.
What about you, Dad? Any difficult things that stand out that are unique to fathers?
Well, what you said about you learned a lot by, viewing others. I think of what baseball great Yogi Berra said. You can observe a lot just by watching, and there are a lot of clues, in life. And I noticed the same thing that I noticed the kind of family. I thought, with a few little adjustments, is there any reason why boys or guys can't be the maximum in love with God and others, but still feel very much like men? And I knew a doorway to that would be sports and athleticism, and a definition of honor for boys, because it's not for a man to. Jesus said, "Go one." If somebody asks you to go 1 mile, go 2. So being generous or showing feeling, and he wept, but yet he went to his death and he laid down his life. So I had to figure out a way to juxtapose that, and I think you're a good example of it. You have, you're touched. I heard the saying once. A guy talked about his dad. He said, "My dad is so tender-hearted that he cries at a good card trick." And I haven't seen you cry at a card trick, but I wanted to cultivate the heart,
Yeah.
and the integrity. What's that?
Yeah, maybe if there's a good enough trick, it might happen.
Yeah. But just to have that warmth, but also the steel,
sure.
yes and no integrity of this is the way I'm supposed to live, and this is what real manhood is to lay down your life or to love widows and orphans in their distress. And I know you're real sensitive to the vulnerable, or to like my parents are in their 90s and sometimes need your help, and you're one of the first ones to spring into action.
You guys have taught us well with that, and like right now, Mary Elizabeth just went off on a mission to help her sister-in-law and new baby.
Yes,
she had a little basket. It was really,
I know.
it was really neat.
She did
looked
a good
like,
job.
I don't know. It'll
Looked kind of old-fashioned. But
Yeah,
like
it was
a real
neat.
nice picnic basket. But she'd made some Mediterranean type food, really good chicken and tomatoes, cucumbers. How do you say that? Guana. Those. I can't think
I'm
of.
not sure. I don't know. I'm not
It's
real
like
good with
rice,
it smelled good.
Yeah. And
aroma.
she did a real good job on it too. And she does a lot of the cooking these days. She's really been such a help. We should have had her first.
Yeah.
But she's got a good heart. And she gets to snuggle with that little baby like I got to yesterday when I brought lunch.
Hey guys, we just created a second YouTube channel. It's for Safe at Home Christian Outreach, which is something that Dad started in 1999 with us. And we have a lot of interviews with Christian athletes and other inspiring testimonials. So we'll be putting a lot of videos up on that page. So if you want to click and subscribe to that, we'd love to have you. I have a lot of younger siblings. Of course, I'm the oldest, and now some nieces and nephews. And I guess I can imagine with Dad, it was difficult sometimes being like the best option you have, even though you don't have all the answers. You're like the end of the line, other than God. Right. And of course, I've always had the security of Dad above me. And of course, you made us feel so secure over the years, Mom. But I do relate to that, like with my brothers and everything, where you feel kind of the weight of responsibility growing up sometimes. Yeah. And I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. But I think that hopefully prepares me for being a father in the future. So
one thing that when you are feeling that way, like, wow, here's a baby, when you were born, I remember crying, it's just like, wow. And I'm sure a lot of fathers can relate. But I got to thinking, I want to hit some bullet points that are true all the time, all through eternity, and to keep it simple, like coloring books, like ABCs. And I thought, well, some of Jesus boiled it down to saying, love your God with all your heart and others. Well, that's always, and we always agreed on forgiveness, like instant forgiveness, and going to God and confessing, getting forgiveness. And that we just chose 3 or 4 things to really emphasize all through life. We figured this would be applicable, boys, girls, any age, 2-year-old, 20-year-old, your age. And so it seems like you've picked it up, because I think that really shouldn't be so stressful. A lot of new parents, it's kind of funny because we're seeing a lot of new parents, and they'll be kind of nervous about the right way. Everybody wants to observe all the mistakes all mothers and dads all through history made. Now we're going to read these books and hear from these experts, and we're going to do it just right. And so you learn to relax and trust your stuff, as they say.
Yeah.
In the
But
major
that's
leagues.
hard to do when you don't have stuff yet. You learn on the job. And I think the whole goal is for us to each take from how we were raised.
Yeah.
And of course you were raised by a different set of parents than I was. And a different family, different school, where a lot of things were real right, and maybe a few things could have been improved. And same on my side. And the whole idea is everybody wants to do the best for their kids. If everything's healthy in someone's mind, I think just about everybody loves their kids and wants to do right by them. And the whole idea is I'm hoping you guys take whatever we did well and improve on it, and whatever we didn't do so awfully good, that you improve on that too. And that's the whole idea. We're supposed to be always doing that. And then your kids will, because of the improvements you made, and then your natural failures, being human, they're going to improve on that. And that's just how we're supposed to do. And we all should have that desire for excellence. It's just, we'll never get there. And we'll always
need
fail.
mercy.
And we're just we're humans,
Yeah.
we're clay. We can't do anything perfectly, but you do your best. And then you have to kind of just trust that if you love the person and you're really loving them and you're doing what's really best for them and not just for your convenience, then you're doing right by them.
And plus they pick up the intention of love, and that's the most important thing, is that they feel loved. It's not so much, some people overdo it with like, oh man, I got to make sure they live for God. It's a narrow road, and then they just, hey, let's have devotions, let's have scripture memorization. But we want it to be more organic, where, at the opportune time, see, oh, you're upset with him. Remember yesterday, though, you needed him to forgive you. Now you need to forgive him. And you were really good at that different times. You often say, say you're sorry. And they go, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And, you say it like you mean it.
Yeah.
So,
No, I would just say they had to say it pretty.
Yeah, okay.
As much as they could.
Yeah,
Because they didn't
sure.
really mean it. And even when they did say it pretty, it's more like first time, sorry.
Yeah.
And then it's like, honey, you got to say it pretty. And, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then you could tell they even let go of it. They kind of would sigh and they'd let go of it. And then I learned too, I had to accept that, if
Yeah.
it wasn't perfect. And I wouldn't say, now,
Yeah.
do you really mean
Right.
that? Do you really believe it? Do you
Right.
feel it? It's like, no, just be glad for that much. And
Yeah.
then change the subject. Get going, well, good. Now that storm's passed, let's go do this. Hey,
Yeah.
we forgot that we didn't get a chance to make this craft or do this, make
Yeah.
cookies or something. And have it be something good happens when
Yeah.
you've let go, that
Yeah.
the storm does pass. And now
Yeah.
it's a blue sky and it's
all
you
about
know,
the future anyway. If we want God to look at, not look at our past and be truly forgiving toward
Yeah.
us, then we can just look toward the future, like what we call kind of pro side, or kind of replacement therapy. That's one
Yeah.
thing you're always good at, and we both try to do, is replacement therapy. If you, instead of saying don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, just build up a culture that's sort of irresistible within the home.
well, and give them something good to do. Kids need attention, and they need it. It's not they just want it. They need
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
If you're not paying any attention to them, they're going to misbehave just to get
Yeah.
your attention. And I much prefer giving them attention that didn't involve spanking, unless if I had to.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I think it's my fault. I didn't give you guys something to do. You were too idle. You didn't know what to do with your time. And it would always, during school time, you guys would think of all these good ideas. Hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? It's like, okay, I finally caught on. I'm going to write this down, because come summertime when we have actually time to do those fun things,
Yeah.
I probably won't be able to think of them. And you'll have all
Oh,
this
yeah.
boredom. It's like, okay, what do I do? And so I would kind of keep a list of all these good ideas we had that you guys wanted to do instead of school.
Right.
And then we would actually do those things. And it that helped me, because I kind of needed those ideas, because if I could give you guys something successful, something you could succeed at, but that you were learning and that was good for you, it would keep you busy and out of trouble. And just like with the sports, you're working off that energy and having to go help funnel the kids towards something good. Then you guys got lots and lots of attention behaving.
Yeah.
And if you were not getting the attention, you'd misbehave, of course. Any
Yeah.
child would, because they need the attention.
Well, I think my last question before our big special announcement at the end, and this is probably one you've answered many times, but as parents, how did you stay united when you were raising us? Because of course, you both had unique roles, the man's role and the woman's role, father and mother. And how did you merge that together and kind of give a secure, united front to us growing up?
Well, one, I think, really key thing is to realize that you need both. I know, like, we'd go on a trip, and the one time we were headed up to Maine, I think it was, and, Rick was always talking about, okay, well, we're going to go to this state, then from there we're going to go here, and then we're going to go there, and we want to get there by this time, so we have to. And I'd be thinking, okay, now, honey, we have to stop to diaper the baby and to nurse him. We'll have to make lunch because we don't want to eat out. We couldn't afford to. We're going to have a rest stop. We got to get the little guys that run around, or one being potty trained has to be brought to bathroom soon enough. And I was thinking of all the little details, like, yeah, that's true. We want to get there 8 hours from now. But on the way, we're not going to make it unless we nurse the baby and have everybody go to the bathroom and get everybody a drink and feed them. And we were both right. And a whole lot of times, you're both right. You're both looking at the same elephant, but from a different viewpoint. And to respect that, when you were saying, boy, I got to earn more money, you weren't being bad.
Right.
You did need to earn more money because kids are expensive. They have a lot of needs. They wear out their shoes. They grow out of them before you've got done pay for them.
It's a God-given instinct.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank goodness you were thinking about how to get to Maine, because I sure was, and I wasn't paying any attention, and I was busy dealing with you guys and making sure, that you were
Yeah.
okay with your needs. And if someone's in the back seat looking panicky that they really have to go to the bathroom now, you were driving the car, you didn't have
Yeah.
time to be looking at
Yeah.
them all the time. And we needed both. And to have some respect for each other's roles, because you need both. Was always a good thing and a frustrating thing to me. You'd come home from work after being on whatever your work was. It wasn't being with the family. You'd miss everybody so much. And you were full of energy to wrestle with them and to make a big mess. And I was like, oh, good, you're here, and I just got the kids calmed down, get everything real orderly, got the meal going, and you come and you'd be wrestling and messing with them. But that's just what they needed. They needed someone who would do that with
especially
them.
with boys.
Right. And I wasn't real likely to throw something in the house at them and with them and break windows like some people did. But they loved it. The boys needed fun. And you always fix the windows. So it's like, okay, I don't know why I'm sweating so many bullets about that.
Yeah, I think counting windows and like hanging globes. I think we broke 40 things.
Oh, yeah.
But
well,
we
a
were there
lot of the
for
we was not just,
A lot of us.
it's a quarter century.
it wasn't we.
That's only 40 over 25 years. It's really just a little over one a year.
Well, and when you were the one fixing it, I thought, well,
Yeah.
what am I complaining about? And you
Yeah.
guys
it's
loved it.
somewhere outside basement windows, and those are easy
Yeah.
to break in a ball game.
Yeah.
I remember I felt bad breaking one. One time there was a brick column between two windows.
Okay.
And you guys were kind enough, I'm surprised you laughed at me, but I was allowed to throw a baseball, bounce it, and I would let it come back to me, and I'd try to be like Ozzie Smith and have really good,
Right.
smooth hands being the shortstop. I'm trying to imitate a shortstop. And I think one time I was being a pitcher, and somehow I got inspired by this, they called a submarine pitcher,
Oh,
Dan
yeah.
Quisenberry, I think it was. And I thought, I'm going to try to throw it like that, where he throws it from a real low angle.
Yeah.
And I was very wild, and it broke one of the windows in the basement. So
Okay.
I think that was one of my
Really wild.
last breaks, because I was probably a teenager or something.
Well,
like
and
that.
at some point, you started helping fix them, and they
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
thought, it's better if I don't break it, I don't have to fix
Yeah.
it. But it was so funny because when we built the house here, finally, well, what a blessing, and we had all these globes on our ceiling fans. I thought, oh, I know better. I got a bunch of extra ones for when you guys would break them. And at our old house, we had the one light fixture with 4 globes, and then there were 2 at the fireplace. And I never could have them matching because we'd break one, and they were old, and you couldn't match them. I couldn't afford 2, and it was never ending. And you guys haven't broken one. We've been out here
Yeah.
for 22, 23
Yeah.
years.
I wonder why
We
that
haven't
was.
broken it. Well, for one, these are thicker, and
Yeah.
those were more fragile. But also, you guys have
Well,
a
you-
Because there were
backyard
still
to play
plenty.
in.
Maybe that's it. Because there were still plenty of little kids even when we came over
Yeah,
here.
and
Right.
maybe my aim got better.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot, our yard was small.
Yeah.
And it hardly ever had grass. For some reason, we'd get worn out real
Yeah.
quickly, and you planted grass. And
Yeah.
by the time it started looking like grass, you guys couldn't wait to play, and
And-
there wasn't grass. And
And
it
we,
just,
we started playing ball together too.
well, and it was a small yard. And yeah, you guys,
We took it
played
outside
more.
into leagues and
And now
everything.
we've got a yard, and we've got a ball diamond. We've got things to do outside. And you guys weren't so desperate in such a small space.
Yeah.
So I just thought of it now, but there were only little kids then.
Right.
Now there were, when we were out here, the second half was all
Right.
adults or
Right.
teenagers, so they could take kids out
Yeah.
to places.
Yeah,
So,
you can see on the earlier videos, it was like literally living in the moment and,
yeah,
Surviving.
Yeah, just,
that's for sure. Yeah. Well, that takes us to the very end here, and we have the special announcement. Do one of you want to share? We can see if they got it right in the comments or not. Do you want to say who it's for, who it's about first, and then we can say what the actual announcement is?
no, well, if you're, whatever if you want
How
to.
about one of you says who it is, and the other one says what the announcement is?
Okay, I'll say who it is, okay? Well, it's one of your siblings, Mark, one of the older guys.
Number 3.
He's gotten himself engaged.
Right.
To a wonderful girl, Maria, who's from a family of 13 herself. We have to learn their family. They've got to learn ours.
Right.
And I think she's actually doing better on our side than we have with their side yet. So,
As far as, getting to know the names and remember all the names.
yeah.
Yeah, I got to
she's doing
visit.
really
They're
well.
about 3 hours away, and I
Yeah.
got to visit them, and I guess it was last month, and got to spend some time with them. And it's really neat because Mary Elizabeth already
Right.
treats them like sisters, and
Yeah.
she's constantly talking to all those girls. In fact,
Right.
she just in passing earlier said something like, "Oh, like so and so and I have a 50-day streak of sending at least one message."
Yeah.
So one of the apps I think shows just if you have a streak.
Yeah.
And it's just like little days in the moment. They might send a picture of their
Yeah.
baby, and Mary Elizabeth shows a picture of something she cooked or whatever
Right.
else.
Well, and
it's
for Mary
really-
Elizabeth, it's been heaven because
Yeah.
she didn't grow up with sisters, but now she's got 5 sister-in-laws, and then now
Yeah.
this sister-in-law to be, and then all
Big
those
change.
sisters that
It's- yeah.
are going to be sister-in-laws,
It's
sort
going to
of.
multiply.
Yeah, and that family has 8 girls and 5 boys.
Yeah.
And I think she
And
talks to
so-
almost all of them. Like, so it's
Yeah.
like suddenly she has probably
Yeah.
like 24 sisters or something.
I
She has
know.
them, and then she has, like you said, all the sisters-in-laws, the girlfriends,
Yeah.
and
Right.
cousins. So
And she's been eating it up. She loves
Yeah.
it.